it's Aaron again with the Duke. We're going to run through Mock Draft Monday here. So just like we've been doing, 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, a tight end, and then that flex play, alright? And this week we're going to go 12 team, and we're going to draft out of the 3rd position, alright? So we'll get this thing started. I know I haven't been doing too much from the beginning of the draft just because I think it gets kind of boring watching the same videos from everybody, and we all know how the same running backs go in the beginning. But we'll give it a try and see what happens with these running backs and everything. So let's get here into position, and we will be hiding the already drafted players. And first thing off the board from the 3rd position is obviously Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley. So we have plenty of running back options: Zeke, Kamara, Michael Thomas. That's really what you're looking at in this area. If it were me, I'm definitely going to stick with the running back. I like Zeke, so we're just going to go ahead and take that. It's pretty simple beginning order, but we'll see what happens here now that we are on the back end of the 2nd round and see what options are left for us. Alright. So after our pick of Zeke Elliott with the 3rd pick in the 1st round, it goes Kamara, Henry, Michael Thomas, Dalvin Cook, Devontae Adams, Joe Mixon, and then we get into Jones, Hopkins, and Chubb. So, I mean, it's pretty basic. I think these guys are all going in the 1st round in almost every draft. It just depends on which order they go in. I don't see anybody here that dropped, other than I've seen Tyreek Hill go in the 1st sometimes. But otherwise, it's a pretty basic, simple start, right? And then we have Austin Eckler actually going earlier in this draft than we usually see, followed by Miles Sanders and Kenyon Drake actually dropping quite a bit. So normally we would see probably Kenyon Drake in these first 4 picks, maybe the 5th pick, but this draft, that's how it went out, alright? So we got Edwards-Helaire going pretty early, and then followed by a tight end. So obviously we have a lot of running backs off the board already. We'll see what's available. I'm not comfortable taking Todd Gurley in the 2nd round, even though we're on the back end. We know that we're going to get another pick here in the 3rd. So any of these running backs should probably be there. We should be able to get one. So I feel like this is a reach. But I see right here that we have Kenny Golladay, which if you watch any of my videos, I'm high on Kenny Golladay this season. I think he's probably one of the safest receivers you can take other than Michael Thomas. He might actually be the 2nd safest receiver you can take. His stat lines are fine. You know, Matthew Stafford went last season when he was playing in the 1st half, was playing lights out. He probably would have finished quarterback 2 behind Lamar Jackson last season. And Kenny Golladay would have benefited from that anyway. So I'm going to take that wide receiver, especially in this half PPR. You know, his receptions, they're a little lower than most receivers that go at the top, but you know, like I said, if Matthew Stafford was to play all last season, I think he would have been targeted more, and then there definitely would have been, you know, more yards, and then the touchdowns were even there on bad quarterback play. So his stats can actually only go up with Matthew Stafford playing all this season, and he's already a wide receiver. I think he was wide receiver 2 last season. So we're going to lock that in and get that 1 wide receiver for us, and then we'll see what running backs are still left over here when it comes back around. Alright, so Todd Gurley didn't even go, which I'm glad we didn't take that pick, because that would have just meant we jumped on him and we would have lost out on Kenny Golladay. George Kittle, Mike Evans, Lamar Jackson, and Odell Beckham Jr. So going into the 3rd, personally, I wouldn't take a quarterback in the 2nd round in a base normal league or a regular, unless it's just half PPR. But now I do know that Patrick Mahomes is open, and this is where I would be taking those quarterbacks if they are available. We definitely have a long time before our next pick, and I mean, I feel safe with Zeke, but I would really like to get 1 more running back before we just completely lose out on these running backs. So it's definitely between Todd Gurley or taking that chance on Patrick Mahomes. I think the safe play here is just to get another running back, all right? We want our first 3 picks. You know, our first 4 picks in the first 4 rounds should always be safe. We don't want to lose anything from these players or take too high of a chance. And I know a lot of people would say Gurley's got the injury problems and the injury history, and that I'm taking a chance here. But when he's on the field, he's only missed 4 games in the last 4 years. So we know that he has knee injury issues, but he still finds a way to play. And I feel like that's still a solid pickup at running back. And now we don't have to worry about running back too much anymore. We can go after those other positions. We have our 2 stars. No matter what we do, we're going to look at running back because that's just how fantasy is. So we took Todd Gurley in there. Patrick Mahomes was the next pick. So then it goes Allen Robinson, Chris Carson, Juju Smith, Fournette, Cooper, Thielen, Allen, Kupp, Gordon Moore. I actually really like DJ Moore this season. Teddy Bridgewater should play pretty good. He's definitely a step up from last season, so DJ Moore's stats should go up. And the funny thing about the Carolina offense, it's actually set up a lot like the Saints offense. Now, obviously, there's different coaching, but this should be an easy transition for Teddy Bridgewater to come into this team and play like he did last year for the Saints when Breeze went out. And what I mean by that is they have the dump off running back who you can get the ball out to in the wide open space, Kamara and McCaffrey. And then they have that star wide receiver or that single wide receiver that's going to take over that game that they can throw to, meaning Michael Thomas and DJ Moore. Now, obviously, Michael Thomas is a better receiver than DJ Moore, but then it goes backwards where McCaffrey's the better running back compared to Kamara. So I definitely see DJ Moore going up this season, and I think he might actually end up finishing probably around the top 12, top 10 wide receivers this year. So he's definitely a solid pickup. Ooh, I really would have liked to get Jonathan Taylor here. AJ Brown. If you've watched any of my stuff, you know that I'm completely down on where AJ Brown is going. He actually lasted in this one a lot longer than he's going in other drafts. I think he's really starting to go down the boards now that people are catching on. But there's just no way, possibly, unless Tennessee comes out and they become a passing team this year, which they're not going to, that he can do the same thing he did last year. I mean, there's just not any more reception. He only had 52 receptions last year. So all of his numbers came off of big plays and deep balls. So unless he does that, we've already seen A.J. Brown's ceiling. I mean, there's nowhere else for him to go. And so you're drafting somebody based off their highest potential, not him personally as a player, but on that team as the wide receiver one. And there's just no reason to be taking him because unless everything goes right and you see the exact same thing that happened last season, he's going to drop. All right. So I'm staying away from A.J. Brown. There's better receivers out there. There's receivers that can put up the same numbers as him, and they're going later on in the draft. So I'll show you in a bit. I think right here we can probably get a receiver in the 5th round that's going to end up putting up probably about the same numbers as A.J. Brown. So let's go back. We got Calvin Ridley, Tyler Lockett. Let's get one more running back. And I actually like Mark Ingram still. I know a lot of people are down on him. I don't know why, just because he's getting older, but he's never really had a full workload. And last season, he only had 200 attempts, which is actually low for a top 10 finishing running back. He actually, if you look at the stats between Gus Edwards and the other running backs, Justice Hill, he actually had a 50-50 split, but then the other 50% of the backfield went to those 2 players. So it was split between 3 people, so it was kind of a half, and then the other half was split into another half. But Mark Ingram should be able to come into the season, and there's no reason why he can't put up this same stat line. All right, other than maybe a touchdown regression, I think he's actually a pretty safe pick because he was already on a 50-50 last year, and people are worried about J.K. Dobbins coming in. But there's no reason for them not to run Mark Ingram. So the worst case scenario this season is for Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins to have a 50-50 split backfield. And that's already what Mark Ingram played last season with. And this is the numbers he put up. So J.K. Dobbins is definitely a good pick later on in the round if that's how that works out and he ends up getting a full 50, which is the best case scenario for J.K. Dobbins, or if Mark Ingram went down. But Mark Ingram should not take any fall here. All right. We know that offense is good. The only other running back that I would consider at this time is David Johnson. He's going to get those carries. A lot of people, aren't too high on David Johnson this season. He should get quite a couple receptions out of that backfield, But we know that Deshaun Watson is going to run the ball, and the running backs that come from the rushing quarterbacks, those teams usually do not pan out in receptions as well. So I actually see on the receiving side in a half PPR, David Johnson and Mark Ingram should end up about the same in receptions. There's nothing to tell us that David Johnson is going to come out and get 60 receptions out of the backfield for the Houston Texans this year. That's just not going to happen, all right? So they're actually pretty close, and I like taking the safer pick on a good offense that's going to run the ball. And we're going to get Mark Ingram here in the 4th round, right? So it came back around. David Johnson left. I like our running backs here. I mean, we have Todd Gurley and Mark Ingram. And, you know, like we were talking about, if you are worried about Todd Gurley going down, we have Mark Ingram to put back in. I mean, this is a good running back 2 right here. And if nothing happens to either of these running backs, we have an RB1 and we have 2 RB2s. I mean, that's going to make Mark Ingram and Todd Gurley, either way, somebody could be put in that flex position. And we've got better running backs than probably any team here. I mean, this one is pretty good with Derrick Henry, but then these are 2 rookie situations that we don't know the situation of that. Josh Jacobs, Leonard Fournette, Bell. I mean, by far, we have the best running back scenario and a possible top 3 or 4 wide receiver. So I don't see anything going on any of these other teams to where we're currently not winning this draft. All right. So let's go back. Like I had said earlier, it went Calvin Ridley, Zach Ertz, Courtland Sutton, then David Johnson. So let's look at another receiver because I feel comfortable with these 3 running backs right now where we're at. There's no tight ends that I would currently take right now. We might take a quarterback here because right now it's only Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and those quarterbacks are going to start around this 5th, 6th time frame, and they're all going to run off the board. And by running the board, I mean that's going to be Watson, Prescott, Russell Wilson. They're all going to be gone once someone takes one. So if they get taken here in the middle of the 5th right here, I mean all 3 of them are going to be gone before they get back to me. So like I said, we could get the same amount, but I actually want to see, I had said that we could get the same production from A.J. Brown into the 5th round, but I almost want to wait and see if I can prove that we can get the same production in the 6th round, because that's almost 2 rounds later that we could almost get the same production for. I like Tyler Lockett in a PPR, half PPR league. He's still going to be the main receiver. He's still Russell Wilson's handicap guy to go to, and he's definitely a safe pick, all right? But I want to see if someone like DJ Chark, Jarvis Landry, or even a Michael Gallup drop down to us in that 6th round that we could pick up to that could possibly show the same return as what A.J. Brown's going to put up this season, at least from what we think. So let's take a gamble here and let's go at that quarterback to try and get us bigger numbers. Now see there when I started the quarterback run, we already saw that. And we knew that was going to happen. And the good thing about that is when that does happen is we didn't lose out on too many positional players. All right. I mean, there's only 2 more running backs taken in an entire round after us. So we took Prescott, Singletary, and then we see Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray all go. There goes Watson. I mean, Breeze and Brady. That seems kind of early to me in a real draft, but the system ran that. And then there was Darren Waller, but we're not worried about any of these tight ends. That's pretty early right there. We got Dak Prescott. He's going to put up numbers in that same Dallas offense. They only got better this season. I mean, they're going to pass. We know that McCarthy passed a lot with Aaron Rodgers, and then they're bringing back, Kellen Moore. There's no reason why they're not going to pass this ball. Dak Prescott has a lot that he wants to prove. He doesn't have to prove it, but he is going to want to prove it to get a contract. So they're going to pass the ball a lot. So I definitely feel comfortable with Dak Prescott as that possible. He could take the quarterback 1 this season. So let's go back. And I'm saying this because Jarvis Landry is, he's Baker Mayfield's comfort area. Just like he's like Tom Brady's Edelman. That's what they're proving to us this time, or so far. And I don't see any situation to where his stats go down or his receptions go down this year. I personally, if you watch my videos, I think Odell Beckham's go up, but I also think that's because Baker Mayfield goes up personally. And really, OBJ last year had over 1,000 yards. So really the only thing that he needs to go up in is I believe he had 4 touchdowns. And with that, I think he could get closer to 6 or 7 touchdowns this year. And that's not going to get taken away from Jarvis Landry. I think that that's just going to come from a better play from Baker Mayfield. And in that new Stefanski offense, they're going to run the ball a lot. But then I kind of see Jarvis Landry kind of like that Vikings offense. Odell Beckham can go up and he can play deep. He can play the ball like Stephon Diggs did in that offense that they ran with the Vikings. But I see Jarvis Landry being kind of like the Thielen of this offense, all right? So I don't see his stats dropping anywhere. And Jarvis Landry actually finished higher than A.J. Brown last season. And there's no reason why. I mean, we're looking at A.J. Brown last year. He had 52 receptions compared to Jarvis Landry's 83 in a half PPR league. I believe that A.J. Brown had 8 touchdowns compared to Jarvis Landry's 6. But their yardage was about the same. There's more receptions. So even if A.J. Brown comes back and still gets 8 or 10 touchdowns, the receptions in a PPR, half PPR are going to even that out. And you're getting the same player in Jarvis Landry as you are A.J. Brown 2 rounds later. So let's see how our roster looks and how everybody went. All right, so we've got Zeke Elliott, Todd Gurley, Mark Ingram. We're comfortable with that. We should probably look at more running back. I like to have all my running backs probably taken before the 10th round. And then we can pluck in receiver or tight end later. So we're about to just go running back heavy here. Maybe pick up one more receiver and have 3 receivers before the 10th round. But let's look Jarvis Landry, and then they go Kareem Hunt, which I would have liked to pick up right here. That would have been, this draft would have been going almost perfect if we could have got Kareem Hunt. Josh Allen, Divas. So we didn't really miss out on much. Let's go back. Let's check running back. Cam Akers and Geis. All right, I actually think Geis, yes, he has an injury problem. This late, he could see upward to 250 carries this season if he stays healthy. Now, I know the healthy thing is an issue, and for a lot of people, I'm picking someone like this. But if he does stay healthy, and we're in the 7th round, we're not risking a whole lot. We could have a top 10 running back out of Geis from the 7th round. All right. So let's just keep that in mind. There is a couple more wide receivers that I like taking in this area. Tyler Boyd is one of them. If the AJ Green thing doesn't work out, we saw all the receptions of Tyler. There's no one else to throw to on the team. And they already have that going on with them. They know what he can do. So Tyler Boyd's not a bad pickup. The Michael Gallup thing. Michael Gallup, some people are saying CeeDee Lamb's going to come in. I don't really see that taking away from Michael Gallup. I think Michael Gallup can continue to do what he did last season. Marquise Brown should take somewhat of a step up, but not a huge one. And then Marvin Jones is actually one of the safer players that nobody picks. We think, Marvin Jones, you can pluck him in anywhere. He's been the most consistent, safe wide receiver for the last 4 years in a row, to where he's actually close to a wide receiver 2 or a good flex position. And if anything happens to your wide receivers, you can pluck him in. He's just so consistent year in, year out. So let's take somebody in this Rams offense, whether it's going to be Henderson or it's going to be Akers, is going to take off. We don't know which one. It's a split. But I know that Geis, if healthy, is going to be the guy. Adrian Peterson is not going to outperform at this time Geis's numbers. If he's healthy on the field. Geis is a great running back, great athleticism when he's on the field. And there's no competition really for carries in that backfield as long as he's healthy. But we don't know the Cam Akers and the Henderson thing, and you're really just taking a 50-50 guess at which one's going to get it this year. So I feel better taking Geis knowing that if he does play and he's not hurt, he will be that guy. Ooh, man, all those wide receivers. I was really thinking that one of those wide receivers would at least stay for us in the next round, but they all went. All right, so we got Geis. They went Gallup, Boyd, Edelman. There goes Jones, Brown. All right. Well, that's all right. We'll come in here. Like I said, we're just leaning towards that running back. We want to keep plucking these running backs because by the end of this, pretty soon, there's not going to be anybody to take. There's nobody even worth taking. And these wide receivers, there's still going to be a couple people that could put up decent numbers and that are playable from a week-to-week basis. So with our pick, I'm thinking We haven't had another tight end go. I know that Higbee's going to be there. I'm not on the Higbee train at all. Everett got hurt last year. He's going to come back. I think that that's just a waste of a tight end pick, so we're not jumping on any of that. I think we just keep building our wide receiver and running back depth. And I like these two wide receivers. I'm a little shaky. I think Jordan Howard actually is the safest pick here. All right. Because he's going to get those carries. He's been a 1,000-yard running back other than last year when he hurt his shoulder with the Philadelphia Eagles. He's been a consistent 1,000-yard running back every year. And there's no reason why he can't do that in Miami either. He's going to get the touches. And people might say, well, yeah, he's going to share with Breida. But, I mean, that's why they got him. He's going to run the ball. He's going to run the ball to the middle. He's going to get touches. And that offense should be better this year. So he actually should be probably one of the safer picks. We see Johnson, Lindsey, there goes Breida, and Slayton. So we're really building up this running back depth here. We've got 5 running backs to our 2. So let's go look at those wide receivers. Unless there's one more running back we want, I would like to get a 6th running back. Kerryon Johnson's a waste of a pick. Don't pick him, no matter what. Marlon Mack, waste of a pick. All right. They drafted Swift, and the best case scenario for Kerryon Johnson this season is a 50-50 split with Swift. That is the best case scenario. Swift is a better running back, and if anything happens, Swift is going to outtake those carries. Like, there's no real path for Johnson being the 70 split and Swift being the 30. Best case scenario is 50-50. Or Swift ends up taking the 70. So you definitely want to draft Swift, and there's no reason to put a Kerryon Johnson on there. And it's kind of the same thing with Marlon Mack and Jonathan Taylor. The best case scenario is a 50-50. Worst case scenario, 30. So the best case scenario and outcome for Marlon Mack or Kerryon Johnson is 50% of the carries. That's the best they can give. So you definitely want the rookies on that team, on both those teams, if you're looking for running backs out of there. I like the Zach Moss pick, because they've already come out and said from Buffalo that they want to use him as their Frank Gore. They've already said it. He's our goal line back. We're going to run him inside the 25s. He's going to get all of our touchdowns at running back. They've already said that. He should still be there in another pick. I also don't mind Tariq Cohen as, a dump off, getting the receptions. And I don't mind the Tevin Coleman. We have no idea what's going to happen in San Francisco. Everybody's already, I think, on the same program that Raheem Mostert. He's just not a safe pick, and he's probably a bust compared to last season. He's like 28 or 29 years old, and all of a sudden now he's a star in the NFL. Like, that just doesn't happen at running back. Last season at the end of the year, going to the playoffs was an outlier. But I do like Jamison Crowder. So in a half PPR league, after all that's said and done with the running backs, I need another wide receiver that I know I can put in my roster and possibly put up wide receiver 3 numbers due to receptions in that offense. And from some weeks, he might be able to put up wide receiver 2 numbers. And if anything was to happen to Jarvis Landry or Golladay, I feel pretty safe with Jamison Crowder as my wide receiver 3 on my team. So let's go ahead and take him. There went Tevin Coleman. Oh, Zach Moss did go. So, like I said, that's why we took all these running backs so early, is because we were able to stack these running backs. But now there just really is nobody left. I mean, there's nobody. We could start looking at some tight ends, maybe another wide receiver. We're good at quarterback. We're not going to draft 2 quarterbacks. We have Murray, Henderson. Over here, we have Jefferson. If you've watched my videos, I kind of like Ruggs. I think he's going to get quite a few targets for a rookie in this offense. But I also like Darrell Henderson, because like I said, the Cam Akers and Henderson situation, it's really 50-50. I mean, there's nothing saying who's going to be the guy, who's going to take that over. And I think at this late in the draft, it's worth a gamble just to throw one out there for Darrell Henderson. Because if he ends up taking over that backfield this year and Cam Akers isn't the guy, I mean, we have a top 10 running back all the way in like the 10th or 11th round. I mean, it's just worth a dart throw at him. So went all running backs, and these receivers are still here. So Preston Williams, Ruggs, Rieger. Like I said, let's take a chance on Ruggs. Williams did okay in that offense last year, but I think there's a lot of receptions to receivers that can be opened up in this field, and I think that Ruggs is going to see him, and he's definitely a boom player possible. So let's try and be part of that. There's definitely upside with a Henry Ruggs pick this late in the draft. All right. So let's take a look here. We got Henry Ruggs. We're pretty good at wide receiver now. We have our 4 receivers. We'll pick another one up. There's Kenny Golladay, Jarvis Landry, Jamison Crowder, and Henry Ruggs. I feel pretty safe about that considering how strong our running backs are. There's definitely upside with Darrell Henderson, possibly not. There's definitely upside with Darius Guice, possibly not. Jordan Howard could be that safe guy that we can just put in. He's going to get his carries. Same with Mark Ingram and then Todd Gurley and Zeke. I mean, we're very strong at the running back position. Dak Prescott should put up top 5 numbers. There's no reason why he shouldn't this year. And then we have the possible top 3 wide receiver in Kenny Golladay, a wide receiver too in Jarvis Landry for sure. And then we're taking, chances here with Henry Ruggs. Let's look at tight end, because I don't mind skipping wide receiver till the end at this point. Wide receiver is the easiest position to pick up on the waiver wire, so there's no reason really for us to just keep drafting all these receivers, because we already know from past experience that there's going to be someone that wasn't drafted that's going to show up this year and you can pick them up on the waiver. So you're really just taking a gamble. So if there's other players here that we think we could get, like a Jared Cook, we're going to take that tight end. All right. Let's go ahead and take it. And that actually worked out pretty well for us. We'll come back. Let's look at it. We're getting to the end of the draft. We won't worry about our kicker and our defense. It's going to be our last 2 picks here. So we really only have one more pick. We have Jared Cook, Harris. And a lot of people are kind of down on Jared Cook. He put up huge numbers when Breeze came back last season, at the end of last season. But it wasn't in receptions. And in a half PPR, that kind of worries me because he was very touchdown dependent last season as a tight end. And that's really hard to repeat and guess if that's going to happen again. So maybe since we waited so long at tight end, I kind of want to look at these other tight ends and just take a dart throw at one again. I don't see Noah Fant. While he's a great athlete, I don't see him being a top tight end or a sleeper tight end, just because I don't think the receptions or production is going to go his way. He's going to get his chances. He's going to show a couple athleticism. He's going to be a star when he gets a chance, but it's just not going to be consistent every week. Let's go with Gesicki, all right? He ended up being, I believe, tight end 11 or 12 last season and finishing in the top 12. So there's no reason why he can't do that. So with Jared Cook and Gesicki here, I mean, either way, we have decent tight end play. And instead of wasting it, let's just get these guys out of the way. We have a chance at 2 tight ends that could possibly finish. I believe they'll both finish inside the top 12, but one of them could finish inside like the top 7 or even be like 5, all right? So don't judge off this defense kicking. I'm not paying attention to it. We're just picking guys to end the draft. But let's see. All right, so normally I'll tell you, we never follow fantasy pros what they say. This doesn't matter. We don't care. They're going off their own stats and their own projections. Apparently they like our roster. But let's take a look at it. We have Dak Prescott, Zeke Elliott, and I don't mind sharing that. One person, it's too much when you start having 3 players from the same team. But I don't mind stacking that, because if this offense puts up numbers this year, which we think they will and they should, Dak Prescott's going to go off. And then if it becomes a game where Dallas just runs the ball out and Dak doesn't go off, we're going to get the Zeke points. So it's not a bad situation. Todd Gurley, Kenny Golladay, Jarvis Landry, Jared Cook, Mark Ingram, and then we come down to Guice, Jordan Howard, James. All right, so this is a very strong offense. I would have no problem going into any fantasy season with this I mean, I really can't pick anything bad out about this draft right here. Maybe the risk on Darius Geis, but that's a personal opinion. I know half of you are going to agree, half of you are going to disagree. Jordan Howard, half of you are going to agree, half of you are going to disagree. But Jamison Crowder was pretty good, finding that value late. And then, same as Darrell Henderson. I mean, we're taking a 50-50, so we could have wasted that on Cam Akers earlier in the draft, but I believe he was going where Geis was. And so we actually ended up taking a chance with Geis and with Henderson, where we still have the 50% chance of getting the Rams running back, and we have a chance of getting the Washington team's running back all the way. So we actually have 2 chances here at running back instead of just the 1 if we had Cam Akers. All right. So like I said, pretty good draft here. Leave any comments down below. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. This is Aaron with the Duke, and I'm out.